Okay, got the ground meat going, and for this we're going to use a tool called the Jerky gun. It's just like a big caulking gun, and this nozzle goes on the end, and it forms the jerky into a strip about maybe 3/16 of an inch thick by, maybe a little over an inch wide. So what I do here is I grab a wad of dough and I make it into a cylinder that I can drop down into the jerky gun. Okay, and this goes on. I'm staying in the camera sight here, and then you can rotate this around so it's in the best angle for you, and then it's just a matter of squeezing the handle. I usually like to put my finger over it at first to get it in there. Sometimes there's air in there, and then it's just squeeze it into the place and break it off. Okay, I got 2 full trays of the ground beef and 1 strip on this tray. Now this thing always leaves a glob in the nozzle that you can't squeeze out. So what I usually do is I just pull that out, push that out by hand, and use it that way. Sometimes it takes a little poking to get it out of there, but I'll flatten it out by hand and put it on the don't want to waste anything. Okay, so I have 2 full trays of strips, 2 full trays of ground beef, plus this tray with 2 extra strips on it. So I'm only using 5 of my 8 trays. Next step is to put that on the dehydrator and get it going. Okay, here's the base of my dehydrator. It's a Nesco Garden Master, and I'm going to set the temperature all the way up. Now this one goes up to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. And I put up an empty tray on the bottom, and in the tray I put one of these leather making discs, and what that does, it'll catch any drippings that might come off the meat, and then makes it a little easier to clean up. But it's just a matter of putting that on top and give it a little turn so they're all lined up, and then the top goes on, flip the switch, and off it goes. It's been on about 2 hours now, in fact exactly 2 hours, and I just wanted to show you, if you can see these little beads of moisture, that's the grease from the meat, and it of course doesn't evaporate, so it builds up on the surface, and you can just dab it off with a paper towel. Now it doesn't seem to happen on the strip meat, and I think that's because the meat is so lean to start with. There's probably a lot less fat in there, so I don't have to mess with that at all, as you can see. Okay, onward and onward. It's been just about 4 hours. I'm going to turn it off for a moment and see how it's coming. Usually you want to let it cool down a little bit before you test it, because sometimes the jerky is, when it's warm, it feels softer than it really is, but I'm going to look at it anyways. This is the ground beef, and it's getting there. It's got a little more to go, but for the most part it's nearly there. And we'll go down a couple trays and see how the solid stuff strip. Oh, this is even better. This is nearly done. In fact, this is probably done. I think I'm going to give it maybe another half hour on the strip pieces and maybe another hour on the ground beef. Okay, we're all done. They're all dry. This piece is the ground beef. This piece is the strip meat cut across the grain, and this piece is the strip meat cut with the grain. And I took the strip meat off at 4.5 hours, and I let the ground beef go to for 5 hours. In actuality, they probably both could have come off at 4.5. I don't think that extra half hour really did too much. I think it was pretty well done at that point. And now we're going to give it the big taste test. First we'll try the ground beef piece. Very good. It bit off fairly easily, although it did have some pull to it. And it chews very nicely. Not hard, not soft. Okay, now we're going to try the piece cut with the grain. Definitely harder to bite off, and a lot more chew to it, but very flavorful. They were both very flavorful. I can't really tell a difference in the flavor. Okay, and then I'm going to try the piece cut across the grain as soon as I swallow this. Okay, here we go. Well, most definitely easier to bite off, but it has about the same amount of chew once you get it in your mouth. But most definitely a lot easier to chew, to bite off than the piece with the grain. So this is my total haul. I got 2 pounds of jerky to eat through, a pound of the ground beef, and a pound of the strip meat. And any conclusions I have to draw here are pretty much mostly in the preparation part of it. Now, as I said, the strips took 4.5 hours and the ground beef 5, but I think the ground beef probably could have come off at the same time as the strips. The advantage to the ground beef that I can see is, first of all, there's no waste. Every little bit of meat that comes out of the package is used, plus all the marinade is absorbed and nothing goes down the drain. So from that respect, it's certainly more economical. The strips, although they did dry faster, I think it was just because I cut them so thin. I don't think that is a factor either way. As far as chewability, the easiest, I think, to bite off was the strips cut across the grain, and the easiest to chew once it got in the mouth was the ground beef. The hardest, and what you're probably most used to, is the pieces cut with the grain. As far as the taste went, I didn't really notice any difference. They all tasted pretty much exactly the same. The ground beef, I think, probably was a little easier to prepare because you don't have to do all the slicing and trimming. It might have been a little more economical also because, again, every bit of the meat was used. There was some waste with the solid meat because I had to trim off the fat, and then there was a strip of gristle in there that I had to cut out. So there was some waste there. But all in all, it's the conclusion is that jerky's good no matter how you make it, and I'm looking forward to chewing my way through all this stuff. Hope you learned something. I think I did. At least it confirmed some things that I was thinking about. And I love jerky. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.